How are you?
I'm doing good. I got a bit of that COVID anxiety. I got the scratchy throat today.
Oh
So if
no.
I'm if I'm a little jumpy, I'm just hopped up on no name cough drops right now. So a lot
You
of
got
sugar
it.
in my system.
I'm with a raspy voice, not from that, but from a lot of celebrating lately.
I
So
like that. I like that reason much better.
yeah.
So talking about your film, it's very timely and it's a political story. And you could explore these same themes in a drama, a satire, or even a doc. What made horror the ideal platform to tell this story?
Definitely. No, I have found, since film school studying horror that really the genre space has been the best for being able to portray and communicate very, very important subject matters of the world, very dark themes of the world that I call them the real horror, and thank God for genre space because it's already hard enough to watch the news. It's already hard enough to read the newspaper, to look at social media, to look at real footage that, I think horror allows us escapism as spectators, allows us to actually enjoy thrill and actually be able to unify like as a team, as a group, as an audience, a full audience, be able to enjoy something that's trying to tell us something very important. And I think only horror provides us that opportunity to escape things that we fear every day. And horror has been talking about social commentary and very important themes for a long time, But it's so awesome how it's layered with the supernatural. It's layered with vampires, ghosts, you name it. Like you can layer it with anything you want, and people will sit through it and enjoy it much longer than 20 minutes on TV
Right.
watching the news. Yeah.
So what made the American Dream such a ripe topic for a horror flick?
I think the American dream has been a trope, has been almost this vision that everybody knows, but doesn't really know the experience of it. And so for me, as an immigrant who moved to Canada, I think I got that dream in a very luxurious and welcoming way. And it's not about the American dream, it's about the dream of having a better life. And I think we have been told for generations, for a long time, that there's something better than what you have out there. And to me, that's really scary, how you are able to find yourself in such a deep level of desperation to want to risk everything to chase that dream. So I felt that it calls for a perfect horror movie, because now being told with the truth of the American dream, I think the scariest part is having your identity stripped away from you. And that was the main inspiration and the main theme for Culture Shock. What does that look like? To not just have your identity taken away from you, but your choice of making that dream a reality. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful melding of a very complicated, timely theme. And you
Yes.
kind of bury it inside of genre to make it more palatable for people. And I'm a horror nerd. I watch every type of horror film, but so many people in my life, it's just they won't do it. They won't go near anything. It doesn't matter if it's a slasher fit flick or something like Get Out. So what do you think people are missing by not being willing to put themselves in positions to watch movies that make them uncomfortable?
I think us horror fans are the ones that survive the pandemic for a reason, because we're open to it. We're open to um opening these doors of conversations of really important subjects, and I think it's okay to do that. So I think people that are not willing to even watch movies like Get Out, who are so good and so elevated, movies like Hereditary as well, or Babadook, that have something to say and talk about. I think, those people are missing the opportunity to be able to look at the real world in a different perspective. I think these movies also give us escapism of hope, escapism of change, wanting to see this work out. And I think that, those that are not open to it are just not giving their heart the opportunity to be able to have faith in something that maybe can work. Because it's so rewarding in a horror movie when the bad guy gets killed,
yeah,
or when the revenge happens. You go, F yeah, when that happens.
you're
And
preaching to the choir. Yeah.
Yes, yes, amen. So, not being able to be open to watching that, you're missing that feeling. And that is probably the best feeling, and why so many of us genre fans are always actually very happy people. Like we're some of the most cheesy, silly, vulnerable people out there. But it's because we're so open to want to see these things. And I'm just happy I was able to convince my family to watch more horror movies now too.
So I'm curious a bit about your process. There's the film that you start off with the kernel of an idea, and then you have it on the page, and then it changes once you start collaborating with the cast and the cinematographer on set, and then it changes again in the edit. How did this story kind of grow and evolve from the first kernel of an idea to what we've finally seen on the screen?
For sure. So I came into the script, it was called Crossing, before I was attached, before anything. And, for me, how it evolved, I think I was also very passionate at the time, with what was happening with the border crisis. It was currently live happening in front of me. And the Trump era was so present that I felt I was eager to express, maybe not to make movies. I was just angry. I was frustrated. I felt that I couldn't talk to anybody about it. Like, what do I do? What is my tiny voice going to do? And in my process with Culture Shock, I realized I wanted to be honest, and I wanted to make it a responsibility to make this movie, not a job, a responsibility. So I can express to the world my feelings of what was happening, and start a conversation. I think a lot of the times even with COVID, for example, I think we're afraid to continue to talk about it because we want to put it away. But it's not gone. It's still there. And I think we do that as a defense mechanism. If I don't talk about it or think it, it's not happening. And I know as storytellers, going back to your question before, like, why does horror allow us that? It's because it allows us to continue to talk about something that is not okay. And so the script and to what you see on screen definitely evolved and changed with my passion and my eagerness to want to do these rewrites to make it as authentic as possible, and really have people be able to talk about it at the end. So, in my process in general with film, I love by starting out making a playlist before I even write down a scene, think about characters, the name of the movie, anything. I like to make my playlist of music, songs, music scores, anything that's all music based. My whole family is all music based. And then there's me. I don't know what happened, but then there's me. So for me, Culture Shock, the song at the very end of the movie, Y Volveré is called. I just had this song in my head while thinking about the script, reading the script. And I was just like, I got to make this movie. And so I just started making this playlist of songs that I actually gave to the studio at one point too. And that these songs usually, or these musical scores usually have a lot of emotion of how to portray these feelings I have towards the story and how does the story speak back. So that's always been my process, has been music. And we put that song at the end of the movie, and it was so perfect. So perfect. That was the best fight, I think, to try and get this song.
Yeah, getting songs in a film is never easy.
No, no, it's not.
So,
Yeah.
as a filmmaker, what part of the filmmaking process do you feel most at home? Would you say it's in the scripting, the shooting, or the editing?
I think it's in the shooting for sure, and working with actors. To me, maybe because I'm an actor myself, but that collaboration of bringing these characters to life, that to me is my most favorite process. It's such a creative, fun process watching it live in front of you on the monitor. You're making something. So to me, that's it's probably my most favorite moment in the process. And of course, the reward, it's hearing the audience react. I feel like your job's not done until you hear that first audience reaction. And with Culture Shock, the first reaction I ever got was my best friend. Her name's Nee, and she was visiting LA for a film festival. And I remember she called me, "Hey, I'm in LA," and I said, "Hey, do you want to come to the studio and watch the director's cut? I've not shown anybody." Sure. And this is somebody that's known me for years, knows everything I love, do, has known all my short films to be covered in blood and gore, and I'm that girl, you know? So she comes in, she has no idea what I've been filming. Just everybody and all my Canadian friends know Gigi left to go make something. And so she sits in this, sound room, and seeing her reaction at the end of Culture Shock, she was crying. She understood that message, and she was just so in awe and mesmerized by this movie she never thought I would make. It was that was the reward. Usually before has been the screenings, the festivals, but hearing one of the closest people to you react to the movie, that to me was like, wow, like that. I was like, this is what it's meant for. So whether it's a best friend or your family, whoever loves you the most is able to understand what you were trying to say, then you did your job. It's complete. But I still had to show up for a few more weeks. But then it was over.
I mean, a film like Culture Shock works so well because it hits you on so many levels, and even just within genre, it kind of hits you. It's three different movies in one. I don't know how to talk about the split up without kind of spoiling it, but it works on a very visceral base
Yes.
horror movie level,
Yes.
but it also works on an intellectual level as well. One of the things that I found most interesting is that you bookended the film with these kind of Fox Newsified news hits, and I felt like just diving into that could warrant its own feature film. Could you talk about the choice to start and end your film with the cable news hits?
Yes. That was so close to pressing the button done. The studio started getting a little worried to put all that news because that was not on the script. That was such a last minute thing that we put together, being like, you know what? Let's be as current as possible. And especially that end, rewriting it and adding it, we were like, we should just go full bananas and just really make fun of a specific someone and just go for it. And it was very close to the day that we were sound mixing. Actually, it was at the sound mix where it's the last day of work. The studio was like, I don't think we can keep any of this. It's too current, and it might date our film. It might make it a specific time and place. And I said, that's the point. That's the point, because we lived it. We can't erase it. Literally. Now, I'm not talking about erasing in the movie. We can't erase it from our lives right now. And so to me, it was very important to keep a reality of things, fake news, how we try to wash stuff that's going on and put a different perspective. So I had to throw in those fireworks and that 25th tweet of the day that the president did. I was like, I got to just go for it. And we did. And I'm just so happy it stayed. But that was a reality. It wasn't there. But it was like, maybe we sprinkle it at the beginning and then just show the whole thing at the end. It'll give people not just a reality check, but a good laugh. I don't want people walking out of my movies feeling like, oh, heavy. Not at a time like this.
Yeah, we're living in such a strange time where the satire we're watching is almost too on the nose, but it hits you, it's a little unsettling too. Again, it's too big grounded in reality.
It's like, I'm laughing because it's true. Yeah, pretty much.
So my last question for you is, my outlet is called That Shelf, and we ask everyone, what is that one item, if I came over, it's just your prized possession you would have up on your shelf?
Oh, that is a good question. You put me on the spot. My prize.
Could be something you brought home from a film set even.
Yeah. And it's because there's so many great things. I think it would have to be, I think it will have to be a piece from the set from still my most proud short film I ever made. It's called El Gigante, which was a cannibal wrestler that eats immigrants across the board. It's a crazy, like, Mexican Texas Chainsaw short. And I made that as my graduation movie for film school. And so I kept one of the skulls where there's the wrestling ring. We put skulls all around the ring. I kept one of the ones that was the bloodiest one. And I actually have that at the top of my shelf because it gives me the best memory. And the best memory is that at my film school, I am that alumni, that legend, that thanks to me, students were not allowed to use blood in the studio ever again because we used buckets and buckets, and we got in so much trouble that we had to come back. We even had like those masks that you look like Darth Vader, using chemicals and all these cleaning things that we promised the school we'd clean it. Students never again will ever experience blood at that school. So to me, that's like, you know what? That's a prized possession because I took a risk. I took a risk. And not only that, it was also, even though I got in trouble for that, I also got in trouble that I was sneaking in students from the other film school, the rival film school, because nobody wanted to work on my project. I didn't have enough people in my class to want to work on our project. So what do? You got to figure it out, right? And take risks. That's what filmmaking is about. So I snuck in almost 15 students that don't even go to the school. We were passing around our lanyards for them to get in, and got in a ton of trouble. And the funniest thing is that when we graduated, my best friend, who's the cinematographer in everything I do, and we both got Excellence in Filmmaking Award to graduate with. And I'll never forget how the teacher was like, as much as in trouble you guys kept getting in, and you made our school a living hell, you took risks. And that's what I hope you continue to do in your careers. Good job. And I was like, oh my gosh. so having that skull on the shelf is still today like a big thumbs up,
Well, I definitely can say for a fact that finding people to work with will no longer be a problem for you. So that's an issue that you can leave in the rear view.
Anybody in.
Thanks so much for your time. And how can people follow you and your work?
Well, definitely, I'm all over social media, even including weird TikToks as well. But Gigi Saul Guerrero or @Horror Guerrero. You will find me everywhere on social media, as well as Lucha Gore Productions, everywhere. So stay tuned. We got a lot of cool stuff coming.
Thanks again. This was a fun conversation.
Thank you, and feel better.